Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Wednesday, November 4th, 2020. Today I'm going to talk about the election and what still yet has to happen for each candidate to win. College football, we have Maction tonight. We'll make some picks. NFL power rankings for week number 9. Previewing the Masked Singer tonight, assuming that there's a show tonight because who knows, maybe they won't have it because the election is not yet called, but we're going to assume that they have a show tonight. And then best bet of the day. All right, we'll start with the election. Right now, as things stand, Joe Biden has a 238 to 213 vote lead over Donald Trump. Too early to call for Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Nevada, North Carolina, and Georgia. I'm going to go over the states that each candidate has won and then make the case for each side to win. All right. So, we'll start with President Trump's side. He got Kentucky, which is 8 votes. West Virginia, 5. Missouri, 10. Tennessee, 11. Oklahoma, 7. Mississippi, 6. Alabama, 9. Indiana, 11. Arkansas, 6. North Dakota, 3. South Dakota, 3. Kansas, 6. Louisiana, 8. Nebraska, he only got 4 of the 5, and the other vote went to Joe Biden. Wyoming, 3. South Carolina, 9. Utah, 6. Idaho, 4. Florida, 29. That was a big one for him. Ohio, 18. That's another big one. Texas, 38. Iowa, 6. Montana, 3. And for Joe Biden, Virginia, 13. Vermont, 3. Washington, D.C., 3, Maryland, 10, Delaware, 3, Massachusetts, 11, New Jersey, 14, Maine, he got 3 of the 4 electoral votes. He didn't get that 4th one quite yet. Illinois, 20, that was big for him, but the Democrats get Illinois every year. Rhode Island, 4, Connecticut, 7, New York, 29, that was big, but that's normally a blue state. Colorado, 9, New Hampshire, 4, California, 55, that was expected too. Oregon, 7. Washington, 12. Arizona, 11. There was some thought that Trump's camp was going to win Arizona, but no, it looks like Joe Biden will win Arizona or has won Arizona. There's some thought out there that Arizona's not done yet. Fox News has it called for Joe Biden, but some other news outlets such as NBC have not called Arizona for Joe Biden yet. New Mexico, 5, Hawaii, 4, Minnesota, 10, and 1 of the 5 electoral votes for Nebraska. There's still an electoral vote for Maine to be picked up as well, and that looks like that's going to go to Joe Biden. The Arizona thing, Trump's party thinks that it's not done yet, so NBC tends to agree with them. Fox News called it for Joe Biden, but we shall see. And the states left, as I talked about earlier, Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Alaska, Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. So Nevada, most people expect Joe Biden to win Nevada. That's a 6-vote state. There is some thought that Trump could steal Nevada because there's the factor that is the casinos are fearing that if Biden wins, there will be a shutdown. So that's some of the conspiracy theorists out there that think that Trump could steal Nevada, the case for Trump. Well, every year or every election, there's states that flip from red to blue or blue to red, and we have not had a blue to red flip yet. The only one that's really flipped from red to blue has been Arizona from 2016, but even some news outlets are saying that Joe Biden winning Arizona is not a guarantee. And then you have Georgia, which is a 16-vote state. Trump had a slight lead in Georgia. North Carolina is a 15-vote state. Trump also has a slight lead in North Carolina. Pennsylvania 20, and Trump had a nice lead in Pennsylvania, but there's always that thought that of the mail-in ballots, and Pennsylvania's still not done. And then Michigan, it's a toss-up, and so is Wisconsin. ABC reported a 20,000 vote lead on Joe Biden in Wisconsin and Michigan. It's very close, but I think last I saw that Donald Trump had a slim lead in Michigan. So quickly, I'm going to predict like how this could happen. This is an unbiased prediction. So I think that Joe Biden will win Nevada despite the rumors that that's going to flip the red. I think that Biden will win Arizona, although Fox has it that he's won Arizona and other outlets are reporting he has not. I think Trump will hold on in Georgia, although I did predict Biden to win Georgia yesterday on the show. And by the way, Biden just has a very 0.6 percentage points lead over Trump in Nevada, so that's not really a guarantee for Biden either. And then for Georgia, Trump has maybe a 2-point lead. I think Trump will hang on barely for Georgia. North Carolina, same thing. I think Trump barely hangs on in North Carolina. Pennsylvania's the big one. And early last night, it looked like that Biden was going to win Pennsylvania. Then it flipped. And as of right now, Biden has a very slim lead in Wisconsin by literally a seventh of a point lead in Wisconsin. But Kenosha County, as of right now, has a slight lead for Donald Trump. So that's a big deal. And then Milwaukee County, it's a big deal that Joe Biden's heavily up on Donald Trump in Milwaukee County. And then Michigan's a big one too. I think that this is going to be so close. And I think there's a chance we don't know until Friday. So where things right now stand, 238 to 213 in favor of Joe Biden. Let's say Joe Biden wins Michigan and Wisconsin. That brings him at 264. And then Trump's at 213. Let's say he wins Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and then obviously Alaska. That's 267. And then the Nevada vote I didn't count for in the Biden projection. So it would be Nevada, Wisconsin, and then he would need Michigan to win. So in order for Joe Biden to win, he needs Nevada and both Wisconsin and Michigan. If he gets those three, he wins. Trump has to get either Michigan or Wisconsin and has to obviously sweep the three on the Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. And in Michigan, Biden has a very slim lead by 0.2 of a point. So it's very close in Michigan. But it says in 94%. So this is very, very, very close. So Nevada, not a guarantee. Wisconsin, not a guarantee. Michigan's not a guarantee. I don't think any of these 6 states are a guarantee. And we could know tonight. We may not know until Friday. We may not know until tomorrow. But for Joe Biden to win, he has to win those two, Michigan and Wisconsin, and then Nevada. Then it's done. He wins. And for Trump, he obviously has to win Alaska, Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and one of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada for him to win. So Nevada is one we can't really sleep on. And don't forget that extra electoral vote in Maine as well. So there's a way that Joe Biden can win the election without winning Pennsylvania. As I mentioned, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada, and he's leading in all three of those states right now. I think Trump has to win Pennsylvania to win. And he obviously has to win Georgia, North Carolina, and one of Michigan, Wisconsin, or Nevada. And I think those three states that I keep mentioning for Biden are all toss-ups. So it's going to be so interesting to see how it plays out. And my gut tells me that I still think it's going to be Donald. But I don't feel strong about it because Biden really is picking up some of the electoral percentage points in Michigan and Wisconsin and Nevada, which can make a huge difference come the final tally. Now we'll talk college football. We begin action tonight, and I have projections for the 6 games, and I'm going to give out picks as I normally would. All right. First up on the docket for tonight, we got Buffalo, Northern Illinois. Buffalo's giving a whopping 14.5, over under 52.5. I have Buffalo giving 6 total, 51. I'm taking Northern Illinois getting the 14.5. I do expect Buffalo to win, but Northern Illinois I don't think will be that bad this year. Buffalo was very good a couple years ago and made the MAC title game. I don't think they're that good again, but I expect them to win this game, but I think that Northern Illinois will keep it within the 14.5. Next up, Ohio and Central Michigan. Ohio's laying 2.5, over under 55.5. I have Central Michigan projected as a 3-point favorite, total 59.5. I'm going to take Central Michigan getting to 2.5 and plus 118 on the money line. I think Central Michigan is very good. I think that they have a real shot to make the MAC title game this year. Jim McElwain's a really good coach, and I think that he'll coach his team hard, and they'll knock off Ohio tonight. And I also like the over in that game as well. Eastern Michigan, Kent State. Kent State's giving 3.5, over under 66.5. I have Kent State giving 3, total 61. I'm taking the under here. I think that is a lot of points. Although both of these teams are very good offensively, I just have a big edge on the under, a 5.5 point edge. I do think Kent State will win the game. Western Michigan and Akron. Western Michigan's giving a whopping 19.5, total 54.5. I have Western giving only 8.5, total 52. I'm going to take Akron getting the big number. Yes, they're bad, but I have a big edge on Akron. No, they won't win. I just think that the game will stay within their range. Ball State and Miami of Ohio. Ball State's giving a half, total 55.5. I project Miami of Ohio by 6, total 56.5. I'm taking Miami of Ohio getting the 1.5, and I think they win the game outright. They are minus 105 on the money line, so give me Miami of Ohio plus the 1.5. So the line literally just moved on me while I was recording the show. All right. Last but not least, Bowling Green, Toledo. Toledo's giving a whopping 24.5, total 62.5. I have Toledo projected by 12, total 57.5. I'm going to take Bowling Green getting the points. No, they won't win. I just think they'll cover. It'd be funny if all the dogs covered. But I think that 5 of them will absolutely cover, and then one of the games will go under. So give me Bowling Green plus the 24.5. If Toledo wins by 20, I win the bet. That's just as simple as that. And I'm looking forward to having Maction back. It just gives a little bit more juice. And then obviously Pac-12 begins on Saturday, which I'm looking forward to as well. Now I'm going to do my power rankings for week number 9 of the NFL. We'll just go through every team and say a little something about everybody. Number 32 is the New York Jets. They're going to be at the bottom until further notice. It's weird. They were actually sort of in that Chiefs game for a little bit, and then the Chiefs pulled away. They literally were shut out in the second half and then put up 9 points in the first half, 3 field goals. Number 31, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've been a train wreck, and nobody gives them I'm trying to think of the right word here. Nobody's talking about it because everybody was excited that they won in week 1 against the Colts. But yeah, they're an absolute train wreck, and I think there's a chance that they steal the number 1 pick from the Jets. Number 30 is the New York Football Giants. Daniel Jones has just been disappointing in year 2. There's some chatter that Dave Gettleman may finally lose his job, and that's not good for Daniel Jones because obviously Gettleman drafted Daniel Jones. If the Giants hire a new general manager, then I think there's a real shot that the Giants will be looking at Justin Fields and Trey Lance or even Zach Wilson in the draft because I don't think that they're going to have the worst record. I think that their defense is going to win them some games, and there's going to be some teams that they're going to catch napping. They remind me so much of the Dolphins from last year. It's not even funny. A very bad roster, not great quarterback play, but just has the right coach, but not really the right GM. Although Miami's GM has done a nice job with their signings. That's the only difference between the Giants and the Dolphins. If the Giants hire the right GM and they're looking at that guy from New England, they're the director of personnel as their new general manager, that's a good sign for Joe Judge because obviously they had ties from New England and stuff like that. So, and like I said, Joe Judge has been marvelous this year. It's just that his team's terrible, just like Brian Flores last year. Number 29, the Houston Texans. They've been a very big disappointment this year. I feel bad for Deshaun Watson. I feel bad for J.J. Watt. And the funny thing is that Miami has their pick, and that's why people are talking about Miami taking a quarterback, which is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. 20, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are officially a bottom 5 team in the NFL. They got smoked by the Eagles. They got smoked by Washington. Looks like they're starting Cooper Rush against Pittsburgh. 27, the Washington professional football team. Washington looked like a professional football team last time we saw them against Dallas. And the only team that Daniel Jones seems to beat is Washington. So we'll see if the Washington professional football team ends that little streak. Number 26, the New England Patriots. The Patriots have not been very good either. They almost stole that game in Buffalo, but Cam Newton fumbled at the end of the game. Number 25, the Atlanta Falcons. They got the win against Carolina, and I almost was certain they were going to blow that game, but they got the interception off of Teddy Bridgewater to hang on for the win. Number 24, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are an interesting team. They picked off Tennessee. That team is going to be a nemesis for some of these contenders this year in terms of spoiling. Number 23, the Carolina Panthers. They're starting to look like the team we thought they were. Christian McCaffrey, hopefully back soon for them. Number 22, the Los Angeles Chargers. It's amazing. This team just finds ways to lose games every week. They should have beaten Denver. They should have beaten the Saints. They should have even beat the Chiefs. Justin Herbert's been marvelous, but the Chargers find ways to lose games. And Part of it is because of Herbert. As good as he's been, he's turning the ball over at points that he shouldn't be turning the ball over. Yeah, their offensive line has some injuries, but their offensive line isn't that terrible. And obviously the Derwin James injury is very, very big too. And then they traded Desmond King. Number 21, the Minnesota Vikings. Looked very good against Green Bay, and I'm not willing to write them off yet for this season. They beat Detroit. They have the Bears a couple more times who've looked vulnerable lately. This could be the team that turns their season around after people wrote them off. So I would take a look at a Minnesota Vikings to make the playoffs future. I want to see what that is right now. Vikings to make the playoffs. This is going to be an interesting future look. I never really look at make playoffs. Let's see. The Minnesota Vikings. Plus 430. I was hoping it'd be like in the 5-1 range, but it's not. Maybe I'll consider pulling the trigger on that. Number 20, the Denver Broncos. They pulled that one out of their asses against the Chargers. Drew Lock has been a little inconsistent, but part of that's because he doesn't have Cortland Sutton, and if Phillip Lindsay hasn't been healthy, Melvin Gordon's been in and out of the lineup too. And next up for them, they're at Atlanta, which is interesting. Number 19, the Las Vegas Raiders. They did not look that great in their win against the Browns. Number 18, the Detroit Lions. Disappointing loss against the Colts on Sunday. Number 17, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins with a great win over the Rams. They're doing it all. Offense, defense, special teams. Number 16, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's a guarantee that they're going to win the NFC East at this point. Because obviously no Dak Prescott. The Giants always lose close games, and then Washington's Washington. So I think the Eagles are in a good spot right now. Number 15, the Chicago Bears. The Bears are a very interesting team too, but not in a good way. Lost back-to-back games. They're now 5-3. There's some talk that Mitch Trubisky might be back in at quarterback for the Bears, which would make things worse for them. Number 14, the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are an interesting team, but not in a good way either. Injuries to Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle hurt their chances, and then they traded Quan Alexander. Number 13, the Cleveland Browns. That was a bad performance against the Raiders. Granted, bad weather. Number 12, the Los Angeles Rams. Terrible loss on the road against the Dolphins. I think that they're very fraudulent. Number 11, the Green Bay Packers. I think they're a very fraudulent team too. They lost to the Vikings. Lost to the Bucks. Should have lost to the Saints. Maybe if Michael Thomas isn't hurt, they lose that game to New Orleans. Number 10, the Arizona Cardinals. I like the Cardinals. I think they're very good. Kyler Murray, I think, is an MVP candidate. That signature win over Seattle. Now they had a couple COVID cases, so they shut down their facility. It's going to be interesting to see how they look on Sunday against Tua and the Dolphins. Number 9, the Buffalo Bills. They have not been very good since their hot 3-0 start. They barely beat New England. Number 8, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints, I'm not so convinced about them either. They barely got by the Bears. Drew Brees has looked good in some weeks and has looked bad in others. Number 7, the Tennessee Titans. Such a bad loss against the Bengals. Classic trap game for them. I still think this is a playoff team in the AFC. Their offense is just too good. Number 6, the Seattle Seahawks. Big win over the 49ers on Sunday. Granted, an injury-riddled 49ers team. Number 5, the Indianapolis Colts. This might be a major overreaction putting them in the top 5, but I think this is a top 5 team right now. That was a dominant win over Detroit. No, they didn't beat the Browns and barely beat or didn't look good against the Bears. But I really like what I've seen from them. And from a Seattle standpoint, I just don't like their defense. I think the Colts defense is better than Seattle's, and that's the difference here. Although obviously Russell Wilson is much better at this point than Phillip Rivers. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens, bad loss against the Steelers. The Lamar Jackson cannot beat a good team to save his life narrative is real and alive. Many people still think they'll win the division. I'm not so sure. Number 3, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're certainly the team to beat in the NFC right now. Tom Brady's looking like Tom Brady. They arguably should have lost to the Giants, but Daniel Jones turned the ball over a couple times, and the refs gave some calls in Tampa Bay's favor. But I still like the Bucs. I think that they're the team to beat in the NFC right now. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. They've been very good with the exception of that bad loss to the Raiders. And if it wasn't for that, they probably are the number 1 team in the power rankings. But that Raider loss still counts on the resume for this year. I'm sorry. And number 1, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're undefeated. They're my number 1 team for the 3rd week in a row. I was on the Steelers being the best team 2 weeks ago. Nobody agreed. Everybody loved Seattle because of Russell Wilson. But I still, now people are coming around because they're undefeated and Seattle suffered a loss. And Pittsburgh has the big win over Baltimore to show for it. So, the Steelers are looking good. They trade for Avery Williamson from the Jets to shirt things up and replace Devin Bush. So, yeah, there you have it, the power rankings for the week. And the trade deadline really didn't see as much just action as we thought. Most of the action, obviously, came earlier in the trade season. Now we'll preview tonight's episode of The Masked Singer, and that's assuming that it'll be on. Group C should be back again this week, and they are. It's the Group C playoffs, and the word on the street is that in terms of commercials, the person being unmasked tonight is somebody everybody knows. It would be very fitting if it was Donald Trump or Joe Biden, right? I don't think it's either one of those guys, but those are the first 2 names that came in mind. It is election week, so you never know with these kinds of things. So, you got the squiggly monster, the mushroom, the jellyfish, broccoli, and Lips. From this group, Lips obviously got eliminated. She was terrible. And it wound up being Wendy Williams. Squiggly Monster hinted at video games, and there's cookies. There's a Ken Jeong hint in there, which means that this is somebody with ties to Ken Jeong. There's magician clues. There's a DJ in there. And there's a lock in terms of a lock, that you, a locker lock. And then he performed Have You Ever Seen the Rain? Ken Jeong had the ridiculous guess of Anthony Fauci. Jenny McCarthy said either Al Franklin or Brad Garrett. Robin Thicke said Ray Romano. I think this is somebody that can flat out sing. I think that this is a seasoned veteran. This kind of reminds me of Monster from season 1. And somebody that I thought Monster was in season 1 was Darius Rucker. And I kind of was getting a little Darius Rucker vibes from the Squiggly Monster. If there's any hints about the South or golfing, then that makes the Darius Rucker possibility more interesting. It could be anybody. You never know. Mushroom. There's hints about underground. There's a city. Hinted about getting a shot at the right time, a star. There was Lips in there, so maybe there's a tie to Wendy Williams. There's a watering can in there. And Mushroom performed This Woman's Work by Maxwell. My guess from last week was RuPaul. And Ken Jeong had a very interesting guess of Usher. Nicole Scherzinger had an interesting guess of Donald Glover. Jenny McCarthy said Frank Ocean. Nicole Scherzinger also threw out Lin-Manuel Martin. The jellyfish hinted about being a social media star by saying Instaclam. Bubble. So there's a bubble, there's shells, there's Nemo, there's a tiara, there's an angel, there's baby powder. She performed Big Girls Don't Cry by Fergie. I have two names in mind, Maddie Ziegler of Dance Moms and Joey King of The Kissing Booth. Those are the two young ladies that I think have a chance to be under this mask. Robin Thicke went with Gabby Douglas, which isn't bad. Nicole Scherzinger went with Sophia Richie. Ken Jeong went with Chloe Grace Moretz or Aquafina. And then Broccoli hinted about social media and TikTok. There's a house, there's a guitar, there's cheese, there's 3 men and a baby, there's a car wash, and then there's cowboys. And then this contestant performed House is Rockin'. Part of me thinks that this is an athlete. There's many people that think that this is a singer, but I think this is an athlete. It kind of reminds me of the baby alien from a couple weeks ago in terms of what the perception was. I thought that was an actor, but I was way off, and it wound up being an athlete in Mark Sanchez. And I actually think that Broccoli is an athlete. The other thing here is that it could be reminiscent of Rhino from last year, who wound up being former San Francisco Giants and Oakland Athletics pitcher Barry Zito. There's 2 athletes that came to mind for Broccoli. There was Cowboys, and there's Cheese, which obviously Cheese Packers. The Cowboys thing has me thinking Troy Aikman, because he's an employee of Fox. And he's a little, calm, and not to say that he's shy. He's certainly an outgoing guy, but he's more, low-key, And then Brett Favre is somebody that came to my mind because of the cheese and the Packers. And everybody knows who Brett Favre is. Well, everyone knows who Troy Aikman is, too. So maybe Broccoli does get voted off, and it's one of them. Nicole Scherzinger went with Bill Murray. That's a good guess if you're thinking it's a singer that's older. Jenny McCarthy went with Howie Mandel, which I disagree with. But that's a big name that everybody knows. Maybe Jenny's onto something there. And then Robin went with Goo Goo Bird, which was a bad guess. Who do I think goes home tonight? This is tough. I think it's either going to be Broccoli or Jellyfish. Wasn't impressed with either of those two. And I think the one that goes home will be Broccoli. And I think it'll be a monster name under the mask. I still think it's an athlete that everybody knows. And I'm going to go on a limb and say Brett Favre. I don't know. But obviously, we're going to recap the show on tomorrow's podcast. And I'm probably going to have different guesses by tomorrow. And we'll see how it goes. So my prediction of who goes home tonight is certainly the Broccoli. And now my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. We have all the action tonight. And the pick I like the most in action tonight is it went down a point. Damn it. I was going to say Northern Illinois getting 14.5. I just liked it being over 2 touchdowns, but now it's 13.5. So I'm wondering if I missed an opportunity to grab a key number. So instead of Northern Illinois, I'm going to go with Miami of Ohio getting the 1.5 at home. I like that pick a lot. I have Miami of Ohio projected by 6 as a favorite. So I think that these sports books are on the wrong side here. And I'm going to go with Miami of Ohio getting 1.5 as my best bet of the day, although the juice is at minus 115 for Miami of Ohio. That's it for the podcast today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping the action games and looking ahead to tomorrow's games in college football and Thursday Night Football in the NFL. Any election updates I'll have for you, Mass Singer will do as well. And maybe an NBA mock draft, we'll see. And best bet as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.